Hello, and welcome to a ServiceStar tutorial. This video will demonstrate how to work within the parts receiving screen. You will learn how to purchase parts and add them to your inventory, as well as how to purchase parts and add them directly to a ticket. Let's get started. Begin by navigating to the Receive Parts screen. That's this little icon here on the Shortcuts bar. Now that the screen is open, click the Add button at the bottom of the screen to create a new receipt. Before we can add parts, we need to reference the invoice that we received from the vendor. I have a sample vendor invoice here that I'll place on the screen so that you can follow along and see where I'm getting the information that I'm putting into the ServiceStar parts receipt. First, you will need to verify that the date on your vendor invoice matches the date on the ServiceStar parts receipt. If the dates do not match, simply change the date in ServiceStar to match the date on your vendor's invoice. Next, you will need to enter the vendor number. If you don't know the number for your vendor, just click the question mark and scroll through your list of vendors to select the correct one. Now enter the invoice number that is found on your vendor invoice. Let's begin adding parts to the ticket. You'll do that in this center area of the screen. For this example, all of our part information is coming directly from our example parts invoice. So let's begin by entering the part number for the first part in the list. Now enter the quantity received and the cost per unit. Because this part is going to inventory, we'll click this plus button here on the right that's labeled inventory. Later, when we post this receipt, the part will be sent into your parts inventory. We will repeat these steps for each part that is on the invoice. The second part on the invoice will be sold directly to a ticket, so let's begin with the part number. And we will enter one part received at $35. We will continue down to the second line and enter the ticket information. If you don't have the ticket number in front of you, simply click the question mark to bring up the ticket search screen. We'll go ahead and select this second ticket here. Now select the issue that corresponds with this part. When you hit tab, the retail price and billing code will automatically be entered. We will click this plus button here because we are adding a direct-to-ticket part instead of an inventory part. So when we post the receipt later, the part will be sold directly to that ticket. Finally, we will add the third part that's on our vendor invoice. And two parts were received at $5 each. As you can see, all three parts from our vendor invoice have been added to the parts receipt in ServiceStar, and our invoice on the left matches perfectly with our parts receipt in ServiceStar. And you can come down here to the bottom and we've got our totals line, which also matches our total from our vendor invoice as well. Once your totals match up from your vendor invoice and your parts receipt in ServiceStar, click the post button and you have now finalized your parts receipt in ServiceStar. We will return to the ticket to verify that the part has been added to it. Now by looking on the combined view screen, we can see here that the correct part has been attached to the proper ticket and the proper issue. Thank you for watching this tutorial video. Stay tuned for our next video about receiving parts, where we will demonstrate purchasing parts with core charges and returning parts.